This is February the 4th, 2026, and this is the Hartford Board of School Directors. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock, or as close as I can see that clock anyway, it says. The call to order is, are there any changes or additions to the agenda? None? Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Could I have a second? Is anyone online yet?
Second.
Could I have a second online?
Second.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, governance policy, section 4, policy GP2. We're going to have a presentation about Hartford School District community partnerships. And Carrie Russell, who is our district social worker, is got the floor. Whoever.
Up by the microphone, just so people online can hear you.
Okay, well, I will do this and try to turn. So I am Carrie Russell. I'm the district social worker, and a lot of my work ends up being kind of community facing and doing a lot of work about how we are connecting with our community partners. And I wanted to share just a little bit about what some of those current connections are. I don't know who has the little, are you on this or, oh yeah, okay, awesome. So fancy. I don't have a little.
I did it the wrong way.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
It's good to just tie a screen. Because for a reason, I did not like how it looked first time. You're like, oh, whoop. There we go.
Reverse.
And we're just.
I mean, I can also just look at it. It's not pretty. So I think one of my core beliefs in this work, and I'm the first person that's been in this role, it's a new role in Hartford. This is the 4th year it's existed. And just, you know, that belief that community is key, that our students and our staff do not live in a bubble. We're part of the Hartford community as a whole. So these are kind of the 4 areas I'm gonna talk about tonight and highlight. There's obviously other partnerships, but these are the 4 areas we're gonna talk about today. So the first thing is talking about HEC, which is an acronym I really love that we got here, just because it's fun. HEC, Hartford Engagement Coalition, and this came out of the first year I was here working on issues of truancy and chronic absenteeism, which is certainly a big concern, and wanting to ensure that those concerns weren't seen as simply a school issue, but a collective community concern. And these are all of our children, and how do we come together to find ways to creatively address an engagement issue? It's not just getting to school, but what is this about? How do we get more people to engage in school, other programs, the resources that are offered? There's a ton going on in this community, and we're not always connecting the dots. So this is a list of the folks who have joined the HEC meetings. We have meetings twice a year, and the idea isn't that these are meetings that things happen in. The idea is that this is a place where, in a hyper-local kind of way, we talk about what's happening in our organizations and make connections like, oh, you do that? Oh, I didn't know you did that. We have kids who need that. How do we do this? Or we would love to have you come in and talk to our staff about that. And it's led to some really cool partnerships, the Family Place being one. They've done some intensive work with our pre-K team just because there's some overlap, some just exciting ideas around how the Parks and Rec and the Family Place, like, didn't know there were scholarships for certain things. And so just some amazing connections. And also these meetings have to happen in person. I don't let anyone join virtually because I'm a little stickler on that. And that just means that people have faces, and it's really helpful in those connections to be like, oh, I know who Nancy is, and I'm gonna call Nancy. So again, these meetings only happen once in the fall, once in the spring, but the idea really is what's happening, how do we connect, how do we have similar goals, and we don't wanna be working on things parallel and not connecting. So yeah, this is the list. I'm not going to read off it, but these are all the people who've been able to join us in these meetings. And others have been invited, and we're always expanding, but it can be hard for agents. You know, scheduling is always the biggest challenge, but yeah, it's been a really awesome opportunity. Another newer partnership this year is with Department of Children and Families. I think one of the things that I'm learning is just how much bureaucracy is hard to understand. And so we as a school district ask our staff to understand lots of different systems, special education, general curriculum, all these things that when you're in education, you kind of live and breathe our education acronyms and rules and laws. And DCF is an agency that we have to partner with. We are all mandated reporters. And they also have a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of rules that they have to follow and systems with court that are very clear for them. And the reality is we don't always know those of each other's systems. And that can lead to a lot of, I think, misplaced frustration, or that's about a system, not about the individual. And so we've been working with DCF to have them come into each of the schools and do some training, really helping explain their processes, as well as they really need foster parents and talking, and teachers often are people who care about kids and might be willing to take on foster care as something in addition to their current work. So kind of that partnership in learning about each other as well as an ask, and then maybe down the road being able to share some of our systems with them. So that's a newer partnership. Parks and Rec, recently, this came out of our most recent HEC this fall, but just talking about sometimes engagement is so hard, and they shared that their bingo nights have been incredibly successful. So I'm beginning conversations with Parks and Rec about how do we use bingo night to advertise some other really cool engagement pieces. And so there's this idea of commercial breaks that Parks and Rec had between rounds of bingo. And then also their ability, they have a 15-passenger van. Perhaps some of our newer families that aren't yet engaged in our school but can't get to an event. For whatever reason, they don't have vehicles. They just have a need, and this is a barrier that they'd be able to go and help those families get there. There's also a cost with the bingo nights that helps fund their summer programs, but they would be more than willing to waive those costs if it means that certain families are able to access these events. So that's another exciting kind of partnership that's happening right now and being talked about. Yeah. And then a big one this year is the Upper Valley Haven. I mean, not only are they right across the street from many of our schools, but they're just a huge partner. Part of my role is the McKinney-Vento liaison, which means that I work with all our housing unstable housing families. And so we, myself and LaTanya Johnson, who is their Director of Shelter Services and Community Partnerships, worked together this summer to write, and we got a grant that allows for us to work together really closely and intentionally through the AOE. And so that means that the Haven has come up to the school district on our PD days, and there's 3 that they do, and the final one is in March, to really share kind of the work of the Haven, as well as some more information about maybe interventions and ways to work with kids who are experiencing housing insecurity to support their unique needs. And then likewise, we are also going down there, the special ed team and myself, to kind of share a little bit more about school systems, and how that all works, because they have an after-school program that is also trying to support kids with educational needs as well. So trying to share some of our knowledge with them as well. So we support shared families. Part of the grant hopefully is going to include some facilitation of groups with the parents around some parenting skills, with the Circle of Security, which is a training program that the Family Place has been offering for a while virtually, but we think having in person at the Haven could be really helpful. And then another big collaboration, which is not part of that larger grant that we got this summer, but with the other half of the Haven that focuses more on food, is really about how do we better coordinate over school breaks. So the first time we did this was for winter break, and it was hectic and awesome, and so much appreciation from the families we were able to get food to, and we're going to do it again for the February break. So yeah, just really addressing a need. So many of our families access the free breakfast and lunch, that impact in a week without any of those meals is pretty big. So trying to get those services to them. Yeah, I think that's the last slide, but I could be wrong. Yeah, and yeah, any questions? Happy to answer, happy to share more details.
Any questions? No? Oh,
Not me, I'm
No.
talking to myself.
you're talking to yourself. Okay, well, answer your own question then, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Carrie, so much. We appreciate it. We appreciate the work you do. Highlights from the Hartford School District Annual Report. Our Superintendent, Caty Sutton, and Assistant Superintendent, Aron Tomlinson. Ooh, that's bright.
Well, thank you so much. I thought it would be helpful before the annual report comes out to give the board a preview of how it all came together, and the public a preview of how it all came together so that you know what to expect when you receive the report this year. Couple of thank yous just in advance. One to Tessa Johnson for being incredibly helpful in putting all of the material and content that we gave to her together into a really beautiful report. And also to Noman Copy in Hanover, who, I mean, I don't know that I've ever seen a more beautiful annual report. I said that last year too. They're really beautiful in Hartford, and they really just take the time to just create a document that, dare I say, is quite artful. So I really appreciate both Tessa and Noman Coffee. So first, I just want to say that there's a lot of great photos that we included throughout the report to, again, kind of like humanize the material that we provide through the content. So you'll see a lot of great images throughout the report this year, as in previous years. But also, and I've said this before to the board and to the public, that all of the content that you see throughout the annual report is really kind of an amalgamate of the information and material and details and photos that we've provided throughout the district newsletter. So you really see this all kind of come together in this annual report in hopefully a way that is both aesthetically pleasing but also really informative. So this is the HMMS Human Swirl that happened last year, and they were able to get a drone above all of the students to take this picture. So super cool, and again, you know, shout out to Mr. Bryson Nardone for thinking of these incredible ideas. So one of the things that you'll see as a theme and a thread that runs through the annual report this year is a focus on our ends policies as connected to our vision of a graduate. What the intention is, as we've discussed before, is really trying to provide the community with like what we're planning backward from. So there's going to be ongoing reference to, this is our vision of a graduate, this is how it's aligned with our ends policies, and this is how we are aspiring to address everything that is here, as well as using this document and our ends policies as a way to say, how are we doing in terms of measurement toward those ends? You'll see a section on the HSD equity work led by our equity coordinator, Julia Lau. A couple of highlights from this section of the report is that Julia has offered through Suffolk University ongoing trainings in restorative practices. So many of our faculty and staff got trained on Tier 1 restorative practices, and now we are moving on toward Tier 2. We've also partnered with Dartmouth, a lab in Dartmouth that was looking for partnerships with school districts across the state on how to, and it's really like a problem of practice. It's really cool. It's a problem of practice that you explore together. And the problem of practice that we proposed in working with Dartmouth was, how do we continue to support our multi-language learners in the district? So that is going to be coming to fruition by the end of this year. And we're also thinking a lot about, and 'tis the season, so this will be one more bullet that I highlight in this section. We're thinking a lot about hiring and how we include our practices as a part of the hiring process, both in the way in which we look at candidate applications, to the questions that we're asking our candidates, to, you know, a variety of ways in which we're kind of engaging the community and including diverse stakeholders in the process. So the other objective in the report is just to make sure that the community has information about some of the challenges that we're facing as a district. It's no secret, we've talked about it a lot, we're still have the ongoing PCB abatement and remediation project work that is still forthcoming. We're not quite sure what that's going to look like yet, but of course there are a lot of cost implications in that work, ongoing lead abatement and remediation, and a lot of deferred maintenance projects, which the bond is slated to fund. But of course, that's all in the background of some external, larger considerations like Act 73 and, how that is going to impact and dovetail or not with some of the projects, deferred maintenance and PCB abatement that we need to do in the district. Again, no secret that healthcare costs continue to rise and continue to be a significant chunk of our budget, and just general uncertainty at the federal level. So like to kind of, inform the public of some of the ongoing challenges we're facing in our local budget. Which segues into the facilities and capital improvement work that we have done to date. So the annual report will include what it is we have been able to accomplish. What you're going to see in this bulleted list is that these are projects that are largely being done in the schools that aren't impacted by the work that we're going to need to do in relation to PCB remediation and abatement. So we've done a lot of work at Ottaquiche. We have done some updates to the boiler at Hartford High School, obviously for urgent reasons. And then we have a focus this year, and certainly last as well, but this year, really implementing a plan in relation to our safety and security measures and updating all of those measures in the district. Of course, a big focus of the annual report is to provide the community with academic data so that the community has a good idea of what we're looking like in terms of our STAR benchmark assessments, our VTCAP assessments, our SAT data, and information that will just allow you all to get a good idea of what we're looking like in the Hartford School District in relation to benchmark assessments that can be used across the district. And again, I credit Sarah Hisman, our Director of Curriculum, for putting together a bunch of this data to help inform everyone of what we're looking like. But she also focused on some growth trends in both math and reading, and shouted out a couple of areas where that growth has really been impressive. We include enrollment data, and I wanted to pull this section out just to show you that, I mean, in general, which is interesting because there's a lot of discussion about just incredible decreases in enrollment populations throughout the state. And what this indicates is that we have kind of held steady in our numbers. And in fact, if you look at HHS, we've grown a little bit. Obviously, you look at this over time and you do see an overall general decrease, but it's not by the numbers that are being published as averages across the state. So that's really encouraging, I think, and so wanted to share that as a highlight here today. Our enrollment data at HACTC is also continued to hold fairly steady. I presented last meeting on the testimony that I provided to the House Education Committee on the situation with our PCB challenges. And one of the things that I did mention to that committee was that right when we were about to expand programming in building trades and health sciences is when we found out that we had to take some spaces offline at the HACTC because of PCB levels. So that's all to say that we have this enrollment data. It looks fairly steady, but this would look different and significantly larger had we been able to increase and expand our spaces to accommodate more students. We have waiting lists every year in a lot of programs. I love this one because, and wanted to highlight this because These numbers are tuition students, so students who are in areas that are adjacent to us, who don't have a high school or a middle school, and they send their students to us, so they select us. And school choice, you'll see just at the high school level, because that only applies to grades 9 through 12, and that's students and families who elect to apply for the school choice lottery. And they, apply to be in our school, and then we take a certain number of students. So those numbers are also looking really good, and I'll note that especially looking at the middle school, we have pretty high numbers of students who are choosing to come to Hartford Memorial Middle School as well as our high school. Here's a good source of data to see outcomes. One of the numbers that is a part of our school profile and gets tracked, in our state is graduation rate. And, for SY 2025, we had a graduation rate of 94.7%, which is above the state average. And you'll see too that, 21 through 25, we've had percentages in the 90s of students who are graduating and graduating within 6 years. And this again is just a little collage of assessment data. Oh, that says date. Assessment data is what it should say. But all of these numbers will be in the annual report as well. I just wanted to give you a little preview of what it looks like. But this is broken down in a more substantive way, in a more thorough way throughout the report. But you'll see SAT scores, you'll see VTCAP scores, which again is the way in which the state is using assessment data. And then our star scores, which again is a K-12 assessment, as well as I included the percentage of students who are currently taking AP courses as well, because that's also a really encouraging number. It's coming back up from SY 24 numbers, which is the highest number in the past several years. This is also something that Hartford should be really proud of, is our co-curricular data. Looking at, the arts and the participation by our students. Orange is 24-25, and you'll see that, the amount of students who are taking courses and who are involved in clubs is looking really good, as well as the students who take part at the high school level here is this number here in athletics. Just as an aside, because I couldn't help myself, I dug a little more deeply into this, and we have about 60% of our students who take part in athletics at the high school level here in Hartford. Nationally, it's less than 40%, so that's a really nice number. And again, kudos to all of our coaches and to Jeff Marino and Nicole for really encouraging, as well as our rec department for really encouraging participation in our after school, and as well as all of the incredibly talented human beings who are working with our students in the theater and performing arts. This is athletics in the middle school right now, which is pretty wild. So we've got over 92% of our students who are currently engaging in athletics at our middle school. So that's a pretty staggering number, and that bodes well for the future. Then, of course, we have our school and program summaries, just giving you a little taste of those, but we have a page at least one page dedicated to each school in the district, and this is the kind of data that you'll see, number of students, average class size, and I wanted to include average class size just because that relates to some of the conversation that we've had about Act 73 and some of the things that are coming down the line from the state in terms of class size minimums. So you'll see here that at the high school, we're averaging about 15 students per class. At the middle school, we're averaging about 16. And as discussed previously, the state has put out their numbers of 18. So we're close, but that might be something that we have to look at down the road. And then, of course, we have pages and pages of financial information. Jacob has done a great job of going over that incrementally throughout these last several meetings, so I didn't spend too much time on that, but there are a number of pages of financials for the community to review. And finally, just a little collage for you all of some of the photos that you'll find throughout the report. And no bias at all at the top of this slide. So yeah, that's what you can expect to see, and I just wanted the board to see what this was coming together and looking like, and for the public to see that as well, and then you'll get your own beautiful glossy copy when you come to all of the town meeting events. So we'll see you there. And this is what you get to look forward to. So thank you. Any questions at all from the board?
No,
None.
can't wait to see
Great
the hard
job.
copy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, that a teaser would be.
Good.
Policy work. So, Jeremy, is Jeremy on? He hasn't made it on? We've got one board member that is homesick, another one that is traveling, and another one that's going to be online also, so. Is he on? Jeremy, can you hear us? Isn't that a silly thing to ask somebody? Can you hear us? If they can't hear you, they can't answer, can they?
He gave us a thumbs up. He's ready.
I'm here. I can see and hear.
He's ready to go, and Nance.
Okay. Would you like to give us a little?
Rice has been getting a lot of sleep lately as she prepares to
Something else to-
do this restaurant called the Sea.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember, I work at the middle school. Just remember that.
Rice grew up on a farm in Hartford.
Jeremy,
That is the
how do I
Vermont
know if
farm
he's going to hear me?
cookbook she co-authored with her sister.
Okay, Jeremy, this is
We served
Nancy.
here.
Would you like to give any information on the policy work, or would you like someone else to?
If somebody else would do that, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, and I'm riding in a car at the moment.
Come on.
Across from the season. For Rite Aids, it's empty. Other vacant storefronts are waiting. We don't have the big booms during economic cycles where economies are doing well. We also don't have the big busts. Randolph's economic development director uses the website Randolph to get the word out.
Jeremy, could you mute? We're hearing your radio and all the conversations in your car.
It's Kevin.
Oh, it's Kevin. It's Kevin. Well, we should have. Where is he?
Okay.
Hey, Kevin. Okay, go ahead.
So I make a motion to approve
We opened a pizza
the
joint that closed in 2003.
was warned. What meeting was that warned at? Our December.
Second.
Usually Jeremy's rule. What?
I don't know. Jeremy always has that, so
Okay. Yeah.
it has been, it was warned back. Yeah.
Okay. So I
Okay, do I have a second for approval of F1 travel reimbursement?
Second.
Thank you.
We don't need to read it, correct?
That's right. We don't need to read it. We just need to warn it.
Right. We, at our February 4th meeting, warned the B2 years and work study students, which is in the board online.
Winter Olympics. His son and grandson
Review.
later become Olympians. The first family regenerate.
EL7 asset protection, we have table.
Hello?
Hi, Mary. It's Amy.
Hi, Amy.
How are you?
Oh, I'm peachy.
The approval?
I have you on the schedule tomorrow. I should be there.
We would like to vote.
Very good.
All right.
All in favor of approval
I
of
appreciate it. Thank you.
reimbursement, say aye.
You're welcome.
Right.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Ayes have it.
Sherry?
Thanks, Sherry. GP2, governing style, Kevin?
When we opened, we did 12 Thank you for calling. Treasure the Cuban milk house with a wonderful milk farm. 175 years later, this little bank is now a $100 billion correspondent market for our business. Everyone wants to live here. They want big city comforts. We've got
He's on. Good to hear.
Kevin,
Yes.
would you like to give the GP2 governing style?
money stays here. It builds homes here. They grow the business.
I don't have that right in front of me. Let me try to pull it up.
Okay,
One sec.
we'll give you a minute or two.
Cancer grounds detect over 50 cancers like pancreatic, ovarian, and lung, even before symptoms appear. Really good to know. New cancer dart from the makers of Cologuard. The only means that crawl spaces, unhealthy for you, unhealthy for your house, makes your home harder to heat and cool. Hi, I'm Matt.
Had to open up another device.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Had to open up another device.
Oh, that's fine.
Hold on. GP2.
Monitor.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I just thought you had them all memorized. He's worked with them for so many years.
Let's see. There it is.
Plenty of Vermont towns are extra excited heading into the Winter Olympics with opening ceremonies. It's an iconic round church. The 16-sided structure was built more than 200 years ago and is a national historic. It still serves as a community gathering place. But in the winter, you can find the community on the slope in the area, where the family's Olympic legacy continues today, and where the youngest skiers also get.
Can we move forward and
Of course.
we'll come back to
We'll
it
come back to you.
rather
Of course.
than hold up?
That'll be fine. The next session is public comment, and we have a guest with us tonight. He is our board attorney. His name is, excuse me, is Benny Lambic, and he is going to get the public comment started, correct?
That would be fine. And I guess I need to speak into this, is that correct?
Please.
And maybe I'll turn this if I can do that.
Sure.
Without disrupting anything. So I have my front to some of you a little bit as well as. Great. Thank you for the help. Okay, hi, folks. Again, I'm Bernie Lambeck, and I'm counsel to the Hartford School District, and I've been doing that for a lot of years. I think since before Kevin Christie was born. I'm not. But it has been a lot of years. And as counsel to the district, I represent the institution as a whole, and I provide guidance and advice when I'm asked for guidance and advice on how best to comply with the law and with policy that governs the work of the school district. Usually those inquiries come from the superintendent, sometimes from principals or other administrators in the school, and sometimes from the board. And the board has asked me to appear at the meeting today to kind of help provide some guidance on this question of public participation as I understand it. So I've heard there is some serious dissatisfaction with some things going on in one of the elementary schools, and people may want to comment on that. So let me lay out a couple of guiding principles for that, if I could. One is, you're all familiar with the open meeting law to some degree. The open meeting law says that the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to express its opinion on matters considered by the public body during the meeting. That's what the law requires, that you have an opportunity to express your thoughts on matters that are on the agenda, not on all sorts of other matters. However, I understand it's the general policy of this board and this district to allow comments that go beyond what's being considered already on the agenda. So that's okay, and there's some rules about how to do that. The open meeting law says that public comment shall be subject to reasonable rules established by the chair. Pardon me? They cannot hear? Oh, thank you for that. What do you mean a speaker being played over?
I think Coach's background is.
Can we mute Coach?
Kevin can mute his audio.
Coach, can you?
We can mute Kevin's audio if that's what's happening. I can't do it.
You can't, okay.
I already did.
I can only turn him off.
Kevin, will you please mute? I'm sorry, Kevin, will you please mute?
I already did.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, tell me again if somebody lets you know that I'm not being heard. So I think you all understand you're all under, all employees have contracts, so do the administrators. And within the administrator's contract, there's a provision for people to make complaints against their administrators if they want to, and that would go to the superintendent. And the superintendent, of course, is responsible for evaluating administrators' job performance and for dealing with complaints about conduct or whatever might arise. So that's the primary mechanism for addressing dissatisfaction with the actions of a teacher or a staff person or an administrator in the school, is to make a complaint to the superintendent, if that, or make a complaint first to the supervisor, and so on, sort of up the administrative chain, and it might get to the superintendent ultimately, and the matter can be handled in-house. It's not really a board duty to take care of matters about personnel, except in pretty unusual circumstances. There's a few cases where the board has the duty to address personnel matters, but that's rare. You heard the term policy governance. I'm sure it's a policy governance board. They're concerned with broad issues of policy, fiduciary issues relating to the budget, of course, and the superintendent's contract, but they don't get into managing personnel at levels below the superintendent's level, except in rare circumstances. There is a policy on public complaints about personnel. It was adopted last fall, late fall. It's called B22, Public Complaints About Personnel. And again, as I mentioned was true, regarding implementation of employment contracts. This policy says that people who have complaints should first go to the person that they're concerned about, and if that doesn't work, you go to their supervisor. And if the concern isn't resolved, then you sort of go up the chain that you can imagine to the principal and ultimately to the superintendent. Then the last part of the policy says there is an appeal route to the board. That's not a public participation thing. That's a specific concern brought to the board requesting that you review a decision made by the superintendent. So you have to, if you have a dissatisfaction with something going on in the school, it has to be, a specific question has to be answered by the superintendent and a decision made before you can come to the board with that. That's the way the policy is written. And then it's still discretionary with the board. The board can decide, no, this isn't something we're going to hear for whatever variety of reasons. It's not all spelled out in detail. It's just discretionary. And if the board does take it up, the first off, there would be an executive session to decide whether to hear the concern under the policy, to make the threshold decision whether to hear it. And if that decision is yes, then there would be an executive session at a subsequent meeting to actually hear that concern and invite certain people into the executive session to address the board on it. The reason for all this process, in large part, is to protect privacy and protect confidentiality. You all know that there are important privacy rights, especially for students. That's first and foremost. Anybody who's worked in schools knows the acronym FERPA, which stands for Federal Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It's a federal law. The F stands for Family Educational Rights and Privacy Law, or Privacy Act, which protects privacy of student records. First of all, it protects a parent's right of access to those student records, and then protects the privacy rights of the parent and of the student in not having those records be disseminated willy-nilly. And the school district is obligated by the federal law to ensure that that protection happens. Similarly, employees, staff, faculty, administrators all have rights to confidentiality in their personnel records. That could include evaluations of their performance. It could include disciplinary matters and so forth. There is no public right of access to the records of to the private personnel records of employees of the district if they're sensitive. So, contracts, you have a right to see contracts. You actually have a right to see salary information, but you don't have a right to see those certain confidential records relating to personnel. And those things should not be discussed in public participation. So this is a bit of a, what I'm saying from the board to members of the public during public participation, please don't disclose anything relating to students in any way that's identifiable. Right? Talking about general policy is fine, but not about student names or particular students. And please don't make comments that are evaluative of a staff member, an employee, an administrator. Again, that's where the board can kind of limit public participation under the board chair's authority to do that and under the law. And with my advice to do that, because we're required under our contractual relationships with the employees to honor the confidentiality of the records. So I think that about covers it. Any questions from the board for me to address that they wish me to address?
Anything from Kevin? Jeremy, do you have any questions? Jeremy may have be off on the side road now. I don't believe we do. Thank you, Bernie, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bernie.
So now we are going to open up to public comment. We always read this statement before we invite you to come up to the microphone. The board welcomes public comment. In order to accommodate as many community members' voices as possible, anyone making a comment will be given 2 minutes to speak. That is not a time for discussion, but the board is interested in hearing comments, concerns, and suggestions from the public. So if you have a public comment, we invite you to come up to the microphone. Please give your name and which one of the villages that you live in Hartford.
I'll start.
Okay.
My name is Sean Kelly. I'm from Caty Village. I have 3 students in the school system at Ottaquechee, and I'm here today to make a comment in regards to what's happening at the Ottaquechee School. So there's some concerns about safety, some concerns about academic performance, and concerns about the operation of the school. So with that said, I'm free to say that I actually have already met with Caty and Aron in regards to this, and specifically in regards to my son in the 4th grade. So with that said, there are things at that school that need to be addressed, and we believe it's a policy issue. So with that said, some specific comments would be, there have been students in that school that have made certain comments which make security and safety a concern. Discussions about firearms, racial comments, and the discipline at the school seems to be lacking. So there's a PAUSE is one of the policy, not a policy, but it's an acronym that the school system uses to try to get the students to be respectful to each other. I think what has happened at that school is there's a group of students that potentially may be a little taking advantage of the system, let's say. And while they're doing that, it's hurting the overall educational experience of the students in that class, of the class. 4th grade class has been a bubble. There's a large amount of students, there's 2 teachers, and I think the teachers are overwhelmed. So much so that Mr. Wendy had to quit. And quitting mid-year should be a red flag. And there hasn't been, at least from my perspective, enough focus and concern about losing a teacher mid-year. The reason why, I really can't speak to, but from what I've heard, it relates to discipline in the classroom and lack of tools to effectively educate the kids. Ultimately, it's a major problem. Enough so that the room is full tonight, and I'm sure that you don't see this many folks at just a normal school board meeting. So with that said, I actually have a letter drafted. I'd like to present this to the board, assuming that's not out of order.
Well, I'll let the chair comment on that. It's fine to present a letter.
Right.
Again, I don't think if it's got a lot of personal comments about things that
I'll
won't
give
be
you a
read out
copy and
loud.
you can review as well. So this is a letter
Thanks, Sean.
that we drafted. I'll give Katie her name as well. well.
Thank you.
So in this letter, it does specifically lay out concerns and comments in regards to some of the things that I've spoken today. And I really would appreciate the board paying attention to this message. And I look forward to working with Caty and Aron through this process, because it will be a process. The reason why it's a major concern, it's already mid-year. And the kids, Caty presented some stats about, how well the school system is doing. And I'm sure as a whole, 68%, it's doing well. But you have to be careful when you present data, right? So you have to show, you're showing the mean, but you haven't shown the low, and it can be skewed. And so if you miss certain items, it's hard to tell the whole story. And I'll just end this last thing. So there was a trend, and I'm hoping this is a bubble, and I'm not sure about this as well, but the 9th grade trend seemed to be concerning. So there was, I don't remember the percentage, and if you want to throw it back up on the screen, you can, but there was a very high percentage of poor performing in terms of the star numbers. And that's concerning. So, thanks.
Thanks, Sean. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Beth Kelly, wife to Sean. So same 3 kids at Attaquiche School. And I just wanted to start by saying we actually have followed the process. Many of us have gone to staff at the school. Should I name the staff at the school we've gone to? Okay, have gone to the appropriate staff at the school. We've requested a meeting with Superintendent Sutton. We were denied a meeting together to express our concerns. I believe all of us who have asked are making appointments to meet with Superintendent Sutton, and as Sean said, Assistant Superintendent Tomlinson joined as well for our meeting. I will say, when I looked at the options for which the time slots, I don't think there are nearly enough for all the people who have comments. But we did request a group meeting and were denied, which is how we got to this place here of coming to share. So if I may, I have a few remarks that I'll try to keep brief. And I want to just first comment that I respect and recognize the chain of escalation. And today is for awareness, because this is urgent. These problems have been going on for many, many years, and we have been trying for many years to work within the appropriate channels to get things changed, and it's not happening. And maybe Miss Wendy resigning mid-year, an excellent, brilliant, caring, loving, positive teacher who was not getting supports. And I'm sorry, I just said a staff member's name, but she was a teacher. This was the catalyst for us to say, we can't just keep working and trusting the process. Sean and I have been regular volunteers across many aspects of the school, so we're pretty familiar with many of the students across many grades and virtually all the staff. What I had prepared to say tonight is about the academics failing seriously at Attaquiche School. And in particular, I'm going to talk about the 4th grade, although we also have 2 2nd graders. I want to talk about the 4th grade because, as Sean mentioned, it is a bubble class. It has been since 1st grade. It has nearly double the students of any other class in Attaquiche School. And so it was interesting to hear that maybe the state is moving towards 18. I asked the other day to Superintendent Sutton, we need a 3rd classroom. I've been asking for that since 1st grade. We have not been able to get that. We've gotten a part-time teacher here, et cetera, but it has not been enough. And the data shows this, to Sean's point. If you look at the data of this grade, you will see they are seriously lagging behind. And we know that Hartford Middle School, the parents and the teachers are noticing that Ottaquiche school students are not coming prepared at the same rate that the other two elementary school feeders are coming to to their school. So what I boil this down to is severe inequity for 44, the peak it was 44 students, to my knowledge. Severe inequity to these students who are, through no fault of their own in this grade. They can't help when they were born. And they're not getting the education that we're promising them. So I just want to urge you to review the data for yourselves and consider that this group of students, the majority of whom really want to learn and do well academically, has had a significantly lesser learning experience than their counterparts at the other two elementary schools. I know there are many issues in other grades as well, and I just want to touch on the classroom environment, or expound upon what Sean said about the classroom environment has not been conducive to learning. There are an outsized number of children with serious behavior challenges. Now, I am not privy to all of the behavior plans and so forth, but again, I urge you who are to look very closely at the data and to see for yourselves what's happening. Now, when you put a large number of kids with behavior challenges in a large, underserved, under-resourced classroom situation, it's going to many times magnify that effect. If you had one or two kids in a smallish classroom, yeah, these teachers, I think, would have a much better equipped to handle it. But they're not equipped to handle it because there's just not enough staff, and the systems are not working for every child. They probably are working for some kids, and that's awesome, and they should continue that. But it's clearly not working for some children. On the regular, it is complete chaos in the classrooms most days. I'm talking again specifically to fourth grade, but I think the others would say that in other grades, but I can speak specifically to fourth grade. And instructional time is very minimal and very poor quality when they can. There are students who are talking over the teacher, running around the classroom. There's, to my understanding, been a policy that students may not be removed from the classroom for refusing to engage in learning. That sounds really great on paper. A lot of the things that we've been told sound amazing on paper, but in reality they're failing because our son and all these many other kids, I would venture to say all of them, are unable to learn. I would not be able to learn in that environment. And I've done a lot of schooling years. So our teachers have repeatedly asked for more supports, whether that's testing, behavioral supports, more teaching, more adults in the room, one-on-one or small group. And for a number of reasons, they have not been given it. And it is my opinion that they are instead being blamed for the problems, which is really disheartening. So in sum, I just want to say we have a curriculum that is failing our students, a fourth grade class size that has created a massive gap in equity across the district, totally unfair to these children, and a large number of behavior challenges across all grades that the teachers are not allowed to address themselves adequately, resulting in students who know they can game the far too lenient system. My opinion, far too lenient. I talked about the middle school parents and teachers. So I respectfully request that the school board and the administration, as Sean and I have asked and others as well, take immediate steps. We have no more time. Take immediate steps to stop the hemorrhaging and finally provide the additional supports for this group of students so they can have the education they deserve and, frankly, which parents expect for our rapidly increasing taxes. And I just want to say thank you for looking for yourselves at the data and the instances and the reports, and maybe some lack of reports for this really vitally important matter.
Thanks, Beth. Yes?
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Adrienne Sass. I'm a resident of White River Junction, and I have two kids at OQS in first and fourth grade. I feel like I need a safe word, so like yell sweet potato or something if I misstep here. I'm here because my child has given me permission to come here and share her experience at school. And I thought that I was going to come here and speak about the 3 playground fights that have taken place in the last month. And then on my way here, I got an email from the school letting me know that there was yet again another physically violent fight today. And it struck me that I wasn't surprised. I don't know if any of you were, but I wasn't surprised, and that's a problem. And I'm not surprised because every day my 4th grader comes home and it's something else. It's a fight on the playground, it's kids holding other kids back because there aren't enough teachers to intervene. It's pushing in the classrooms, throwing chairs, shoving kids into desks. It's kids threatening self-harm openly in the classroom. It's teachers needing to excuse themselves to cry because of the egregious behaviors that are happening and the disrespect. And as Beth said, the inability, seemingly, for teachers to send disruptive students out of the class. And it's not new. It's a pattern of behavior that we've been seeing for years. And we all received an email today, similar to an email that I received last week when I basically said, what's going on? My kid doesn't want to go to school. She loves to learn. She doesn't feel safe. And the response that I got was that she's welcome to check in with a safe adult. She did. I'm her safe adult. And I'm her safe adult because the adults in the school aren't available. Because the teachers that she trusted who were near retirement retired early. And the teacher in her classroom left mid-year. And the support departments and the guidance counselors are not available for their regularly scheduled appointments with my kid because they're dealing with all of these other issues. And while I appreciate a good follow-up plan, because I'm also an administrator, but I'm an administrator in healthcare, and I love a follow-up plan, the plan of we've notified the parents of the students who were involved in this behavior isn't good enough anymore. Our kids are slipping through the cracks. So I'm here to ask all of you, as the board and as the superintendent and assistant superintendent, to get curious. Why is it seemingly that negative behavior is being positively reinforced? Why is it that you're losing staff at the rate that you're losing them? Why is aggressive and violent behavior becoming the norm? And why are our kids afraid to go to school?
Sure.
That's a tough act to follow. First, I would like to ask the board or raise a question to the board, a question about policy B22. Could you state your name, please? Sorry, Anise Mallinson, White River Junction. 2 students at Ottaquechee, well, 1 student at Ottaquechee School, 1 that graduated last year.
Thank you.
As I was reading through policy B22 and sort of checking off the list that my husband and I have gone through and raising our concerns, both to the folks that we had concerns with and sort of up through the reporting chain up to the level of Superintendent Sutton and Assistant Superintendent Tomlinson. I noted in the policy that as we appeal to the board to hear a concern, the board agrees or doesn't agree, and if they agree to hear us in executive session, we would have to do so with the staff member that we're complaining about or have a concern about present. And I have concerns that that creates an unfair differential of power and is a strong disincentive to bringing concerns to your attention. In my opinion, this would be similar to saying a patient is unable to complain or raise a concern about their physician unless they do so in front of the physician, the CEO of the hospital, and the entire hospital board. And that seems to be a strong disincentivizer to me. I also prepared some comments that we could use sweet potato again if I'm speaking out of turn here, that I would like to relay if that's okay. I have serious concerns about oversight and leadership at OQS that have been building over the past several years and have reached a breaking point. Under Vermont standards, school leadership is responsible for maintaining a safe learning environment, delivering education aligned with state standards, and engaging families and communities to ensure student success. Effective communication is at the heart of these responsibilities and is an area in which we feel the oversight and leadership of Ottaquechee School has been seriously deficient. Communication from our leadership has been inconsistent, untimely, and in many cases inaccurate. More concerning, there have been multiple situations in which no communication occurred at all, which strongly suggests inability to appropriately identify circumstances that require parent and caregiver notification. This year alone, our child has experienced significant revision to education plans, marked changes in classroom educator coverage, as well as multiple safety and behavioral events that have directly affected our child. In these situations, communication from leadership and oversight of our school occurred only after we reached out to inquire what happened and what would be done. Responses received often depicted action plans or supports that look good on paper, but are entirely discordant with our child's lived experience. As a result of this pattern over the past several years, I'm left with a complete lack of confidence and trust in the ability of our leadership and oversight to, 1, lead, 2, keep our children safe, 3, communicate in an honest and timely manner, and 4, appropriately identify situations requiring notification of parents and caregivers. I worry that these failures have resulted in a climate where teachers feel unsupported and that their expertise is not honored. I fear that this is giving OQS a reputation within the community that our school is no longer a desired place to work or to send children for education. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
I'm Liz
evening.
Bunnell from Quechee. I have 2 children at OQS, both a 3rd grader and a 5th grader, and one who graduated from OQS in 2024. I will rely on the sweet potato safe word as well as I prepared a statement tonight, and I will amend as I read through. I am not a lawyer. I also want to mention that I have served as the PTO president at our school for the past 4 years, and I'm telling you that just to underscore how deeply committed I am to our school and to our students and our community. It means a lot to me to be involved. I spend a lot of time in the school volunteering, a lot of time with different families, and doing a lot of different work around the district within other buildings. I am here because I'm seeing a concerning pattern of leadership failures at the building level that are directly affecting students. Over the past 4 years, and I looked at staff data at OQS in particular for the last 4 years using our staff directories, and looked at the numbers. OQS has experienced an average classroom teacher attrition rate of 20%. That is more than double the national average, which ranges between 7 and 8% as reported by McKinsey. This level of turnover is not sustainable and points to serious leadership challenges at our school. Since December alone, as noted tonight, we've had 2 highly respected staff members that have left mid-year, and that's further destabilizing students and families. As you can imagine from all the other comments, like these departures have a major negative effect. For students with disabilities, these staffing issues are especially serious. This year, my son was assigned a special education provider who lacked the required certifications and training to implement his IEP. Services in his legally binding plan were delayed until corrected through sustained parent advocacy on my part. And I even had to reach out to the Vermont AOE for clarification on what's required until I got him the services that he deserves. While he's now working with a qualified provider, this to me exposes a breakdown in systems that are meant to protect our most vulnerable students. And this should raise concerns for everyone about how many students without strong advocacy, without someone with the time that can speak up for them, how many of those students are being left behind. This is not a critique of any of our individual educators. They are dedicated, capable, and committed. But to me, this is a failure of building level leadership to provide the support and stability that our teachers need to succeed. When strong educators lack this support, both teachers and students are disadvantaged. These are not isolated incidents you're hearing tonight. When my current 5th grader was in 3rd grade, a classroom teacher left mid-year with no coverage plan in place. That resulted in weeks of instability. The kids were all going into one classroom. They came home and reported that they were moving their desks on their own, all before parents were even notified. A substitute was only hired after significant pressure and pushback from parents. Similar planning failures have occurred again this year in 3rd grade, which I know you're aware, impacting my 3rd grade son. So I'm urging the board tonight to closely examine leadership, staffing practices, and accountability at the administrative level. Our students deserve stability, qualified educators, and systems that function as intended. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Erica Fallon, Hartford. I want to talk about some of the slides that Caty showed earlier. I am super proud of a lot of the great things we are doing in this district, and we are making great headway. But that can all come to a screeching halt because parents are not engaged anymore, and we're checking out. Strong parents' engagement is one of the most powerful predictors of long-term student success. Yet, over the past 3 years, I have witnessed a steady and troubling erosion between relationship of OQS parents and the leadership. This breakdown is not theoretical, it is real, and it's directly impacting the success of our students. We will no longer see those big gains that we are seeing in AP classes. Kids are leaving that school unable to reach their goals. Parents and caregivers feel ignored and misled about our children's experience on a day-to-day basis. We are dismissed when we ask questions. The working relationship that is so important to continue to see that success between families and school leadership has deteriorated to the point that many of us are just disengaged entirely. And when that connection between school, home, and community disappears, it creates a vacuum that reverberates through every aspect of school life. These problems have been going on for years. This year has been especially difficult, and that has been expressed. And as a parent, I have been deeply connected and invested into where my child spends the majority of their day. I have lost that connection with my school community. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica.
Hello, my name is Stacy Schaefer. I'm a resident of White River Junction. I'm also the mother of 2 4th grade students at Ottaquechee School. I'm here tonight as a part of a large contingent of OQS parents to bring forth some serious concerns about academic, emotional, and physical safety of our students in school. I'm going to focus my time on the safety at school. OQS operates on the PBIS model, Positive Behavior Interventions and Support. While this is a highly researched and data-supported model, it has failed at OQS. Student behaviors have escalated to the point of numerous incidents of physical violence between students, racial slurs, frequent use of derogatory and offensive language. A few months ago, while I was volunteering at the school for a special event, I observed the lunch period of the 4th and 5th graders. I was appalled at the level of noise and general chaos I observed. Students were up and running around, there was food all over the floors and table, trash left behind. I observed very little food actually being consumed. It was a free-for-all, with 1 or 2 staff members present doing nothing to maintain the order or an appropriate lunchtime environment for students to refuel and for the rest of the academic day. I am fortunate that my 2 kids share with me the poor behaviors and situations they see firsthand at school. They don't struggle with any behavioral issues and have been raised to maintain a very strict behavior expectation in and outside of school. They have, on more than one occasion, come home to tell me they do not feel safe at school. My son was the victim of physical violence at school just this past fall. My daughter came home a few weeks ago, begging me not to make her go to school the following day. She said that she feels like she's going to get caught in the middle of her peers' violent outbursts. She also reports to me having to do her work in the hallway because of the chaos inside the classroom. I know several other families have experienced similar situations and have heard the same words from their children. Good children telling their parents they don't feel safe at school is a red flag. Good children begging their parents not to make them go to school is a serious red flag. Behavior management at OQS should more appropriately be called behavior mismanagement. Like many things in real life, PBIS is not a one-size-fits-all, or even one-size-fits-most behavior management. OQS is notorious for inadequate, ineffective, and unfair behavior management. The leadership is directly to blame. They have failed our students and instead have created an environment of dread, anxiety, and discomfort among young children who are trying to learn and grow. I urge the board to thoroughly review the behavior management measures within the school. Just today, as mentioned before, there was another physical altercation between 2 5th graders in the lunchroom. Can't say I was surprised. This is the 4th act of physical violence since the students have returned from winter break. What is going on here, and why are we allowing this type of mismanagement to continue and put our students' safety at risk? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hi.
My name is Kylie Ivany. I am from Caty. I have a child in the 4th grade and a child who just started at HMMS this past fall. I would like to also address some of the physical violence issues because my kid also came home last week, stated that she did not want to go to school the next day after the fight, and I actually kept her home. She was distressed enough the next morning that I said, you know, sometimes we need sick days for our brain too. Like, it's not just our body. I have some serious concerns about the amount of interruptions that my child's class has, the impact that has had on her learning. It was even addressed in somewhat, where my child's teacher, who just departed in our parent-teacher conference, asked how my kid was doing, because there were so many big personalities in the room that she was afraid that my kid was getting a little bit lost, because she's real quiet and she will just kind of hang back instead of act out to get attention. It is a pattern that I have observed for many years. My older daughter had some related but not totally similar issues at the same school. And the lack of communication and transparency has also been deeply concerning for me. And I'm truly worried that my fourth grader is going to wind up at middle school and not have an appropriate reading level or be able to do the kind of math required, because now I'm seeing what's coming home from the middle school, and there is no way my kid will be prepared at the rate she's going. So I am also urging the same things as many of the other parents. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to do my best, but I definitely had specifics in here that I wanted to share, but
Can you give us your name, please?
Christie
first?
Foster from Queechee.
Thank you.
I would love to have an opportunity with Ms. Sutton and our group at some point to go over the specifics, so I'll do my best to keep it generic. First off, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to be very clear that from the very beginning that I'm not here to dispute that there's challenging moments that occur in all classrooms, and I'm not here to avoid any accountability on any of our ends. I'm here to share just examples of leadership decisions and communication practices that have caused significant distress for my child and our family, and raise serious concerns about how our children are being supported and protected at school. One example involves an email that was sent by the leadership team following a difficult afternoon in my child's classroom. While the email referenced that my son was one of the children involved, it included strong judgments and assumptions about my child. The communication was sent without a phone call or prior conversation, despite the seriousness of the language used, and was sent in the evening. The board needs to know that my son has never had a behavioral concern in the past. He has consistently been recognized as kind, empathetic, and thoughtful toward peers and adults. Receiving this type of communication, particularly without dialogue or context, was extremely upsetting. More importantly, my child came home scared, distressed, shaking, unsure of what would happen next. After that incident, I explicitly requested that any future communication regarding my child's perceived behaviors were handled by phone rather than email. This request was made to ensure appropriate two-way communication and emotional safety. And I did meet with that leadership team the next morning, only to find out that this was very much over. His contribution was very, very minimal. Despite this, my son was then called into a private meeting about a PowerPoint presentation he had created during the school day for a school assignment. The concern involved a visual from the internet that contained a link to content he was unaware of and did not intentionally include. And the work itself had been created the previous year. Again, no calls were made to me, and when I picked him up, he was again shaking, upset, and thinking he had done something wrong. As everyone else has already spoke about, there has been an unbelievable increase in violence, and it's very sad to think that now we're just like, yep, this happened again. And in some ways, grateful that my son wasn't hit today. A few students obviously have repeated aggressive outbursts. We see nothing that is being done to protect our child. My child says to me every day, "Mom, please don't make me go to school." And when he starts to feel ill, he is excited because he doesn't have to return. I want it to be clear that I'm sharing only a very few of the experiences, but these interactions have been significant enough to erode my confidence in this school's leadership. Taken together, these examples reflect leadership behaviors that raise serious questions, and the responsibility is lacking to protect and support our children.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Nancy, can I make one more comment?
Of course.
Again, Sean Kelly, Caty. So when when my wife and I had our meeting with Caty and Aron, I gave an analogy. The analogy is this. This house, these 4 walls that these kids sit in every day is on fire. That's the extreme, I just want to get that across. Like this is code red. There's serious issues within that school. And I'm sitting here listening to some of the behavioral issues, and I almost want to say we need to call the Hartford Police Department and have, because every so often they show up and the kids are all excited to see the police car in front, and it's just to show presence. It's almost like when you have to show presence every day. Like that's the extreme that we're talking about. It's crazy. I'd rather be talking about how well everything's doing. I'd rather see more pictures of the kids enjoying whatever they're supposed to be enjoying at this age. But we're talking about like, I don't want to go to school. It's crazy. But we have to get a handle on this. This house is on fire. It's not good. Please help us.
Thanks, Sean. Once again, I will ask, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I would like to when everybody else is done.
Is there anyone online that's
There's none of them raising their hand right now. That's how we see if any of them want to speak.
Did anybody raise their hand on that?
I don't see anyone.
Sherry?
So mine is easy. I just wanted to share the town meeting schedule. Early voting and absentee ballots will be available beginning February 11th. All of this information will be at the very bottom of my minutes. That will be online on the school board site, maybe as early as tomorrow. They're available beginning February 11th at the town clerk's office. The budget and candidate night is Monday, February 23rd, 7 o'clock in the high school auditorium. That's a chance for you to meet the candidates. Currently, on the town clerk's website, there's one candidate, and there's one open seat where no one filed a petition. It's also a night where you hear about the town budget and the school budget. You get information before you go to the Saturday meeting. And the Saturday meeting is Saturday, February 28th at 10 o'clock. And the school district should be first this year because we were second last year. Voting day, important day, high school gym, Tuesday, March 3rd, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank each one of you parents who have come forward tonight and to let you know that we do hear you. Okay? Hang in there. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've worked with children for many years too. Okay? I know several of you out there. Yes, I held those little babies. We hear you. Okay. There's some hands raising back there. Oh, it's just Coach again. Okay.
And I'll just say, I'm humbled to hear all of your very strong emotional concerns. And I'm not part of this community, but it is amazing to hear it all. And I just want to thank you for really making an effort to kind of consider the constraints I asked you to consider.
Yes. We do. Consent agenda, section 4, policy GP4. Katie, do we have any appointments, resignations, or retirements?
We have one appointment, Emil Malia, art teacher at White River School.
Very good. And do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the last meeting, which was on January the 21st of this year?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Works for me.
Second.
Nope. We're all set. Thank you very much, Bernie. We really appreciate it. Bernie is our definite go-to person. He is very generous and puts up with a lot of questions from you-know-who. Thanks again. Okay, we are going to, I'm sorry. What? Did we not vote?
Yes, I'd like you to vote on that motion.
I'm sorry. All in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the ayes have it for the consent agenda to be approved.
Nancy, if you'd like,
Yes,
I
sir.
could do that, that report very quickly.
Okay,
The GP2.
sure, yeah.
Monitoring report, GP2, governing style. Text of the policy. The board will govern lawfully, observing the principles of policy governance model, with an emphasis on outward vision rather than internal preoccupation, encouragement of diversity in viewpoints, strategic leadership more than administrative detail, clear distinction of board and superintendent roles, collective rather than individual decisions, future rather than past or present, and preactivity rather than reactivity accordingly. The board will cultivate a sense of group responsibility. The board, not the staff, will be responsible for excellence in governing. The board will be the initiator of policy, not merely a reactor to staff initiatives. The board will not use the expertise of individual members to substitute for judgment of the board, although the expertise of individual members may be used to enhance the understanding of the board as a body. The board will direct, control, and inspire the organization through the careful establishment of board-written policies reflecting the board's and district's values and perspectives. The board's major policy focus will be on the intended long-term ends and the school district level, not on the administrative or programmatic means of attaining those effects. The board will enforce upon itself whatever discipline is needed to govern with excellence. Discipline will apply to matters such as attendance, preparation for meetings, policymaking principles, respect of roles, and assuring the continuance of governance capability. Although the board can change the governance process policies at any time, it will be scrupulously observe those currently in force. The continual board development will include orientation of new board members in the board's governance process and periodic board discussion of process improvement. The board will allow no officer, individual, or committee of the board to hinder or serve as an excuse for not fulfilling group obligations. The board will monitor and discuss the board's process and performance on a regular basis. Self-monitoring will include comparison of board's activity, discipline to policies in the governance process, and board management delegation categories. Interpretation of policy. The board will function as a team, utilizing the knowledge and expertise of its members to lead to lead and direct policy. The board will focus policy on forward-thinking ends, orientated goals for the district. Policy GP2 directs board members to review, create, and follow governance policies in addition to conducting standard cycles of self-governance process, performance review, and process improvement efforts. Finding regular conformance with the policy with respect to the policy provisions of its policy GP2 governing style. The Hartford Board of School Directors concludes that its performance during the previous year has been in compliance with policy GP2 governing style. Evidence, the Hartford School Board policies, school board meeting monitoring reports, board meeting minutes, and recordings. I certify that this information contained in this report is true. Kevin B. Christie, dated 2/4/26.
Thanks, Kevin. We will be needing to go into a executive session. Do I hear a motion?
So we have a proposed executive session.
No, go ahead, just.
Oh, okay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
VSA 313, labor relations and agreements with employees.
You can go ahead and keep
Okay.
reading.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding labor relations clearly places the board at a substantial disadvantage because the board is at risk of disclosing its negotiation strategy regarding labor relations agreements with employees. Are we bringing anybody in?
Yes, we are inviting Caty and Aron.
Okay, so I move to enter executive session for the purpose of discussing labor relations agreements with employees.
And officially, we were inviting Caty and Aron.
Okay. Or do you want to second it?
I'll second it.
Yes, second.
Or Kevin can too. Both of us. Okay, I need to take this book with me.
It is 7:38.
At 7:38, okay. Should we go into the other room?
Katie, could you send me the link, please? Thank you.
Chauffeur, are you waiting for me too? You gonna wait for me?
I can take you home. Do you want me to take you home?
No, I'll make her do it. She's been driving my car since October. It didn't do it. I will double check with Bernie, but I feel sure that that is definite, not goes out to public information. Okay, we ready? All right, we are back in open session. We came out of executive session at 8:29, and there was no action taken. I forgot what we do now. Do we have to make a motion to come back in? No, all good. All right, ooh, where did I? Next board meeting will be March the 4th.
We don't have another one in February?
No, we don't. We're not going to have another one, right, Katie? In February, we talked about, yes, right. We're not going to have one in February because we're going to be working with the negotiations instead. And working on,
Meeting.
yeah,
Okay.
okay. Meeting eval.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Today is 2/4/26. The board was prepared for the meeting, satisfactory. The board's time was spent on ends, not means, satisfactory. Each board member was given an opportunity to participate, satisfactory. Board treated all persons with courtesy and fairness, satisfactory. Board adhered to Robert's Rules of Order, satisfactory. Board adhered to its adopted governance style. It emphasized outward vision, it encouraged diversity in viewpoints, it exercised strategic leadership, not administrative detail. It maintained distinction between board and staff roles, it used collective decision-making, it looked to the future, all satisfactory.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And that does not need a second. We are adjourned.